So I'm
Okay.
going to give you like an overview of your whole chart, but then and like the most prominent energies, but then we'll talk a little bit about that too, because my hope is that you can take some of that and lean into it. And it's going to help you as you like, although you're a 4 and you don't really need it, but I know you said you want to start to up your marketing and your website and stuff. So maybe it
Yeah.
inspires you with some
Yeah.
stuff.
That's what I'm hoping.
All right. Okay. So, I mean, you know what human design is, but like just to kind of give you like a little overview of how I see it. So, I mean, they call it the science of differentiation, which is really what it is. It's that we're all unique. We're these puzzle pieces that if we're not our authentic self, we're not putting the puzzle together correctly. And so, for the world to be the best place that it can be, we have to be who we are. And so, it includes astrology, your chakras, your biochemistry, the Chinese I Ching, and then quantum physics, which is the idea that 88 days before you're born, and then at the moment of birth, the universe imprints you with these energies, similar to astrology, but it's also looking at it at a little bit of a deeper level under the Chinese I Ching, which is the book of life. So there's all these sort of like life themes that get imprinted. And so the 88 days before is what will be unconscious in you. So you're going to feel that a little less, like other people will see it in you more than you see it in yourself. And then at the moment of birth, you get your conscious side, which is the black side of the chart. And that's the stuff that you're going to probably resonate with more off the bat. Like some of the things, like I know for me, some of the things I'm like, oh, like I like that, but I don't see myself that way or whatever. So, you know, and it's all based like on the side here, you see like the, you know, all the planets and the sun and the moon. And that's, you know, the higher on the chart, the more prominent the energies are going to be. So, you know, this really is just showing you the energy of your body and the fixed themes of your life. And so even though we're born with this, we're so conditioned by the world around us. And so human design is here to free us from that and help us see that we are exactly who we need to be and not who we think we should be. And so the whole point is, you know, like the things that we usually think are wrong with ourselves or end up being our superpowers when we look at it from this point of view, which I think is really fucking cool.
Yeah.
So, you know, because we're working with our energy instead of against it, right? Like we're not living as like everybody else thinks we should. So
Yeah.
like from a PR point of view, like just so you can kind of keep this in mind, like the way that I'm looking at this is, or like PR marketing, however you're presenting yourself to the world, it's giving us like entrepreneurs specifically because you know, we sit with a blank page. I mean, you're very creative and there's a lot of that in your chart, but it's going to, you know, sometimes for a lot, like for, I know it did for me, it gave me words that I would have loved to have used about myself, but I wasn't confident enough to. And so when we start to hear these things about ourselves, that's literally written in our DNA, then we can start to actually have the confidence to use that terminology and embody it, which I think is also really cool because it's giving us kind of permission to really talk about who we already are. And we're going to feel this, like I always feel it in my body, like, oh my gosh, like, yes, like that's what it is. But I never would have been able to say, you know, I inspire people, but that's all over my chart. And now I can really believe. And then when I believe, I embody it. So I subconsciously believe it and then other people believe it. And that's sort of what kind of completes that circle of magnetism.
I'm gonna keep notes of things as we're talking. Somewhere
Yeah.
probably this is in my chart. Because there's things you're saying that I'm like, oh, she needs to make that
Right. Video. And that, and you're going to see like so much of what you do is in here too. So it's like Liz is a human, but I kind of looked at it a lot as like Liz and what you do in the world. And so I
yeah.
think that that's what that to me is what is real. And a lot of this are things like even the way I'm looking at this, these are sort of new revelations to me over the last couple of weeks, which is what's kind of really making this fun for me. I'm starting to see like a path for
Amazing.
exactly what I'm going to do. So then in
Amazing.
terms of our messaging, so there's stuff that's going to tell you, you know, what to say, but also like how people are going to feel when they work with you. You know, we have a vocation, which is also our core wound. And I know Kelly says this too. And this always resonated with me, which is our clients are usually former versions of ourselves, right? So we're
Yeah.
like things that we've learned that then we can pass on to somebody else, which I think is really awesome too. So there's a lot of synchronicity there. And then your chart as a whole and how your energy works also is going to show you how to approach it, right? So we all have different like energetics of how we communicate with people, how we bring information or clients into us. And so there's guidance there too about how to say it, what to say, and you know, who are the people that are really gonna like that you're going to attract in the right kind of clients that are going to be able to achieve the results you want because they're aligned with you in some way. So jumping into it. So you're, you know, we kind of look at this energetically first. So your type, which you're a emotional manifesting generator. We'll talk about the emotional part in a bit. but you are like a huge enveloping aura. So people feel you when you walk into a room. Like people notice Liz's soul when it walks in. And you're also the energizer bunny of human design. Like you can go. You're good at a million different things. You're multi-passionate, and you literally are designed to do more than one thing at a time. And like a lot of people in this space really think that a lot of kids that are diagnosed with ADHD are really manifesting generators. And it's not that they can't focus. It's that their energy is literally designed to kind of bounce around and do a lot of things. Like even really efficiently, you could put things together that other people wouldn't put together and you have somebody calling you. Oh,
No,
you looked. I wasn't sure if you.
My dog
Aww.
knows how to open the door, which is
Oh,
great.
mine does too, because mine doesn't latch.
Yeah, incredible when you live in Canada. Excellent thing.
Oh, the outside door.
Yes.
Oh.
And he's currently doing zoomies from the backyard to like the living room to the backyard.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I love dogs. Okay. Usually mine's sitting behind me, but I blocked her out. So yeah, so you have a lot of energy. You're good at doing a lot of things. You can put a lot, and you know all of this, right? Because that's in your chart. Like you put things together. I mean, you should be careful not to skip steps, because that can, like, sometimes manifesting generators are really good at coming up with shortcuts, and that's good, but just, do it in a way where you're cautious that you're not going to have to go back and redo something because you're so anxious to get ahead. And you have an open route too, which we'll talk a little bit about as we get into your centers, but that's another thing. Like you can be in a rush to get things done and check them off your list. And so sometimes, you might have the propensity to skip things. And so just make sure you're doing it in a way that serves you. Well, let's see what else. So, I mean, even like manifesting generators can feel even like suffocated by doing one thing. So sometimes if someone said to you, Liz, this has to be your job for the rest of your life, like that might feel constrictive to you. And so you're made to jump from thing to thing. So if things evolve, if your work changes, if you bring something new in, or if you mix it up in a different way for every person, like that is very aligned for you. And it's also okay to let something go if it's not working for you anymore. So like that doesn't make you a quitter. It just means that it's not lighting you up anymore, or it's not serving you, it's not serving your clients or anything in your life in general. If it's not for you anymore, you're not a quitter for letting it go. Because I think a lot of people that are man-gens will beat themselves up and say, oh, like I did this, I committed to this, I need to finish it. And you also have some energy because you have a defined heart in your chart. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about those specifically, but that's another thing where when you commit to something, you really commit to something, and you also sort of expect that from other people. And so it could be hard for you sometimes to let something go or kind of quit or feel like you're giving up on something, but that's okay.
Okay.
I don't know if that resonates at all.
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay.
Totally.
Questions as we go, just stop me, because there's so much, but we'll go through it all, and then, but you can
I love it.
Interject if you
want.
So I mean, like you really are, like, you're a force of power. It's going to be really important for you when you commit to something that it's a hell yes for you. So even though you'll have emotional authority, and again, we'll talk about that, but you do have that sacral defined, which is going to be the like, like, yes, I want to do this, or that that's not for me, or the, I don't know. And a lot of times people that have the defined sacral, like, I think you do this too. I feel like I was trying to think about this today, but there's a lot of like, or if you're eating, it might be like, this is really good. Like I'm a generator, like we make these noises, and that's literally like, it's like your sacral's like, it's like you're turned on by something, literally, like anything, whether it's work, food, sex, it could be whatever you want it to be, but your sacral's going to say yes or no to you when something is like in the moment. So yeah, I mean, when you follow your yes, and you follow the things that light you up, and the work that you do is meant to light you up, like that is going to sort of tell the universe that you want more of that. So if you make space and try to get rid of the things that aren't feeling as good, you're going to leave the room to call those other things in. So that kind of leads me into your strategy, which is how the universe talks to us. It's how we tell the world what we want to bring in. So it's literally, for you, it's about listening and responding to what is around you. We're all conditioned. There's like 70% of us are either generators or manifesting generators. There's 8% that are manifestors. Those 8% of people are really the only people that are designed to like go out and get something. Like they have an idea, they pursue it, they go for it. And we're all trained and conditioned to work that way. But most of us are not actually designed to work that way. Now, that doesn't mean we have to sit back and not do anything, as we all know. But to call in the things that are really right for us and correct, it's going to be responding to something that comes into your field. I've had to learn this like the hardest way ever over the last 18 months, where I don't always see the path forward. I don't know what's going to come in. My mind like wants to churn and think about it and come up with the ideas, but I can't, because our minds really are never going to be the thing that have ideas for us. Our minds actually have ideas for other people. Our bodies are going to tell us how to respond. So like if you put, say you have an idea and something comes in, what'll happen for you, because your strategy is to respond, envision, and then inform. So something's going to ping you. You're going to hear, like I listen to podcasts every morning because that's where I get 90% of my ideas. And it doesn't mean I steal the idea from the podcast, but it sparks me to think about something else that then gives me sort of like this 2-step further upstream idea. And so you're going to have these things in your life. Someone's going to call you and say, Liz, did you ever think about this? And you're going to be like, shit, like that's perfect for whatever. So once you have that sort of initial thing that lights you up to respond to, you're going to kind of envision it in your mind and think like, what am I going to do with this? And then 9 times out of 10, what's going to happen is you're going to get some other crazy synchronicity that's going to come in and confirm that you're on the right track.
Okay.
And from there, you are because you're a manifesting generator, which is a hybrid of the generator and the manifester that I mentioned, which is the only 8%, you get to initiate. So it doesn't mean that I don't, but you also can kind of like, for me, it has to be in response. And then I sort of have to like follow the steps as they appear. But for you, once you have the idea that you responded to, you envision what you think it could be, you kind of get that little trigger to go, you can go and pursue whatever it is and initiate that plan, that project, that new business, going after the new client, whatever it might be. But the most important thing for you to remember is that you have to slow down for just a minute before you initiate, and you have to inform anyone that's going to be affected by it. It doesn't mean you're asking for permission. Like if you want to go, I don't know, and like rip the back of your house off and add an addition, if it's going to affect anybody in your house, or like somebody else has to help pay for it or whatever it might do, you just have to let people know that that's what's going on. And then you're going to not encounter any resistance. If you just do it and don't tell them, most of the time there's going to be some like friction that's going to appear, that's going to try and stop you. But if you just inform, so like for a child, like even a manifesting generator child, like they might want to do something that they know their parents might not be crazy about. But if you know your kid's a manifesting generator, it's so much better to teach them to inform you, because you're going to probably like say, I don't love that idea, but all right, you can do it and learn your lesson. And I don't know if you experienced this as a child, where like you wanted to go do something, but maybe somebody tried to stop you or you had to ask permission. And that also can feel suffocating to somebody with that energy. So it's just informing, never asking for permission. No one's going to slow you down, but you're just saying like, here's what I'm off to go create, stay out of my way. And most of the time people then will kind of leave you be.
Okay, good to know.
Yes. So that's sort of like how your energy operates with the world. But the most important thing is be in response, because that's what's going to really bring you the right things. So now if we just look at your chart quickly, and we'll kind of go through these pretty fast, but so starting at the top, this is your inspiration center. That is what they call your, well, actually, let's do this a little different. Let's start with your defined centers first. So the colored in centers are where you have consistent energy. So this is where like you are driving the ship around you, right? So like you have this energy within you. So this green center is your ajna, which is an awareness center. So it's your mind. You have a very powerful mind. It's probably a very busy mind that's always churning and crunching. It's like the supercomputer that never stops. And you have lots of ideas, and they're all coming from within you. But the important thing, and I touched on this earlier, is that when you go to make decisions, this is not where you should make your decisions from, at least not for you. So, your mind can be difficult to quiet, but a lot of times the things that are coming in, they could be, again, if they're in response, that's okay. But if you are like feeling like I should do something because my mind is putting pressure, pressure to do something for someone or answer a question or figure something out, like a problem in your life, most of the time your correct answer is not going to come from there, but it's great for coming up with ideas for other people. That's why you're so creative. You also have a more fixed way of thinking. So it can sometimes be harder for you to be swayed. Like you're not as impressionable or able to be influenced with your thoughts. So you're going to have like a more of a single-minded view of things. It doesn't mean that you're, hard-headed, but it can. And certainly it's like when you believe something, you're very firm in that belief. And it can also create some anxiety too. So that's sort of like one of the fears, like there's kind of, the centers have different sort of like fears, and the ajna
Okay.
tends to be where anxiety will live. So it's like
Okay.
meditation can be really good for you if you have trouble quieting your mind. I have that too. Your throat is defined, which doesn't surprise me because you're like a very great speaker. So you're made for speaking. You have a consistent way of communicating with people. You're good at reading the room to see what's landing on people as you're talking. Yours is connected to your ajna, your mind, your mind up here, which also your third eye. People kind of see it as that as well. And so, it's also actually connected to your emotional center too. So you're really good at speaking your mind and speaking your feelings very clearly and effectively to people.
Cool.
So your spleen here on the left is also defined, and your spleen is related to like fear, your health, your intuition. It's sort of like an in the moment, like you probably have a good intuition. Like, I don't know if you have like a good, like you get those pings that come in.
Yeah.
They're going to talk to you once. Like the spleen is kind of like a quick, it's like your first impression is usually going to be right of something, like a person.
Okay.
But it also means you have a strong immune system. So like you probably push yourself really hard, and you may push yourself to the point where you make yourself sick, like if you don't take a break like you did before the holidays. And so sometimes what'll happen is other people will look at you and be like, Liz, like you really look worn down. You need to take a rest, but you might not even see it yourself because you have this consistent energy that's like pushing you and knowing the strength of your
Right.
immune system. But just be careful. You really can kind of overdo it if you're not cautious. And then these little red circles are sort of like the defined energies in those charts. So they could be fears. So some fears that could come up for you could be related to feeling inadequate, feeling a sense of purposelessness, fear of failure. And this doesn't mean you feel these now, but throughout the course of your life, you may have experienced some of these things, worrying about the future. You also have gate 57, which is kind of a cool one. That's like one of the strongest intuitive gates. And it also means that you should always listen with your right ear. Like if somebody wants to get to you, speaking to your right ear is a great way to really get you to listen. And
Wow.
like when you sort of like, or if you're having like a ringing in your right ear, there could be some intuitive something coming in to you. So pay attention to that. Like anything with your
Great.
right ear is kind of, that's like, there's a couple like little funky ones. You have a smell thing too, which we'll talk about too.
Okay.
Yeah. But like there's other fears in there that don't necessarily come up with you. Like their gate 18 is a fear of authority or like a dislike of authority. I have that personally. I don't like authority or be told what to do. But anyway, but it could be like fear of responsibility and perfection, but you don't have those. But any of these fears are meant to be pushed through. It doesn't mean like it's a fear that you can't overcome. It just could be something that like just viscerally comes up for you in certain places. So just trust your intuition, listen to your body, and like rest when you need to rest. And so your heart, we talked about a little bit. It's actually consistent access to willpower. So I don't know if you have really good willpower, but that would be a sign that you do. And you also could be like willful about things, like when you feel really strongly about something. And commitment was the one that came up before. And so when you make a promise, it's really important to you to keep that promise. You feel like very committed to that. And sometimes it can be hard for you to accept when other people can't do that. Like if somebody makes plans and then cancels, like you wouldn't do that to somebody. And so it's, and actually the thing about being a manifesting generator too, is sometimes like you're going to be in the moment. So when you make plans, like your heart might be telling you to keep them, but if you're at a point where you're like, I shouldn't do this, I'm only going because I have to, it's okay to say no. So that's like another thing that kind of comes in, and those two things could be battling each other a little bit.
Okay.
Does that ever happen to you?
Like kind of like all the things kind of tied together, like the brain, like the tons of thoughts thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, cause man, the number of times a day where I have to do a project and either I'm not really getting the pinging of like what it is, or I know I have to do the project and it's almost like there's so many ideas in my head that I don't know, I can't hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go for a nap.
Yes.
Like I cognitively am like, I'm going to take a shower and have a nap because I know when I'm done that, I will know what to do
It'll
next. And
come
it's
in and
like,
like that's so aligned. Like that's fantastic that you know
yeah,
because I think that's what it is. People don't know how to do those things. What it probably is too, like you're slowing yourself down, but you're also allowing whatever needs to come in because you're giving it that space too.
totally. Yeah. And I've come to the point where I'm like, man, too many things have happened too many times serendipitously because I've left the room and taken a
Uh-huh.
nap and been like, I'm like, yes, if you don't stop telling yourself you're wasting 40 minutes of your
You're not.
day, this is like the most productive 40 minutes of your day.
And even if you were to like, and I've done this before too, where you're just like, everything today feels like a should, right? And so, but you think, but I have deadlines and I have to get this done and I have to,
Yeah.
but like the perfect example of that is you being tired before the holidays and saying you had your power outage, right? If you wouldn't have taken that pause, I wouldn't have uploaded the new Instagram videos.
Right.
I also waited to reach out to that Lydia woman. It all happened. I didn't even know why I reached out to that Lydia woman. And then I realized I was like, it was because Liz was like, those new videos are great. I'm going to put them on YouTube. I had put them on Instagram. She then saw them on Instagram. They wouldn't have been there. And then we connected. So it's like, that's the universe at work. And it just shows you when you follow your
Yeah.
energy for everybody, right? So that didn't just benefit you, it benefited me. And then me waiting to
Yeah.
reach out instead of just like doing it in the moment when I had thought it a few months ago benefited me. So it just kind of shows you how, again, like when we're in alignment, it all works together and these sort of like little cool cycles and synchronicities end up happening.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you also have a defined sacral. That's and that's your workforce and your life force energy. So that's why it's so important for you to find work you love, or you're not going to have the energy for it. So, like if you're working on something and you feel like kind of like not necessarily what you were saying about needing the nap to get the idea to come in or get the clarity, but you could be working with a client where you're just like, I have no energy for this client. And if you have that feeling, that's kind of a really important thing for you to know because it's actually going to drain your energy where you could work with 3 clients instead of that one that were aligned for you and you'll be able to do it all and it'll feel like a lot less effort. So it's really
Right.
important to kind of listen to that like sacral yes or no. And it can feel impatient, especially as a manifesting generator. Sometimes it's like hard to kind of be in response and wait for that sacral, response to come in. Yes and no questions are really helpful. So like if someone says to you, Liz, what do you want for dinner? You might be like, I don't know. But if someone said to you, Liz, do you want Italian for dinner? Like you'd say, oh yeah, or no, I don't want that. So it's like if you ever have that happen, like I say that to my husband all the time. I'm like, don't ask me what I want for dinner. Ask me if I want like 3 things for dinner, and I'll tell you which of those 3 is a yes or a no.
Right. Oh, that's good. That's good advice.
Yeah.
I
So
like
like
that.
if anything too, like, and
Yeah.
if you're struggling with a decision or like to think about something or what you want to do, have somebody else ask you yes and no questions, and that can be really helpful for you there too.
Okay.
Okay. So your emotional solar plexus, this is the most important one for you. We're going to talk about this, but this is your consistent emotional energy. And this is actually your authority. So you have 3 defined centers that could be authorities without the others. Like the sacral could be an authority, the spleen could be an authority. But the emotional solar plexus overrules them all. 50% of people have this. And so, what this means, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth too in just a minute when we'll go through kind of the undefined centers and just some of the conditioning that can happen there. But that is going to be how you make your big decisions. So you're never going to make a decision in the moment. And I'll give you like a lot more information on that too. But so as far as undefined goes, we'll go through these quickly, but the head here is your pressure center. And that's sort of like the pressure for ideas to come. So you're going to be externally inspired. So if you're having a hard time being inspired or you feel like uninspired or you can't come up with the ideas, sometimes for you being in other people's energies or is actually like for you like working at a coffee shop could like I know a lot of people that do that have an open head and it actually really helps them when they feel like they can't get anything done. If they
Okay.
go and they're like picking up energy from other people, you don't even have to interact with them. It's actually going to give you inspiration. So if you're feeling kind
Okay.
of
Amazing.
dull, like, like you can't do anything, change your scenery, be around, even if you like sit in the room with your kids, whatever it is, like it could, assuming one of them someone probably has a defined head, they'll give you some like just energetic inspiration. Your G center is almost entirely open, which is pretty cool because you reflect people back to themselves, which is really awesome. And so that's why your clients probably love you so much because you're literally reflecting the best of them back to themselves. So when they see you and they're like, I love to be with Liz, it's because you basically are like, unless it's somebody that they maybe either is not like a great person in that case, then there might be like, but if it's someone that where you have like a very complimentary energy, it's going to feel really good to that person to be around you. So it's also important for you to be in places where you feel good and with people that you feel good around, because if you're in the energy of somebody that's not like a toxic energy or like an energy vampire kind of person, it's going to feel really bad to you, and you're going to sense
Okay.
it probably before most
Okay.
other people. Your root we talked a little bit about, and that is entirely open. So that's the other pressure center at the other end here. And so that's the pressure to get things done. It amplifies adrenaline from other people. My experience of this is that like if I'm on a call with 4 people and they start talking about what needs to get done, in my mind, I always think that it's going on my list, that it's for me to do. So it's
Oh,
that
okay.
can be
Okay.
like one energy of that. Like if someone's saying, well, we need to do X, Y, and Z, automatically I'm like, I can't do that. I don't have the time for that. Like, and I'm like, no one's asking me to do anything, but it's literally the pressure to like cross things off your list or not let yourself relax until the work is done. And the
Okay.
work's never going to be done. And so you just, like you said, with the naps, like give yourself that time. It's really good you're doing that, because that's really a place where people can burn out too. Like you can really get into like
Yeah.
stress and panic, skipping steps, like setting unrealistic goals. And so you're just better off that you know how to manage that, because that can be a really rough one for people.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna get to your authority in 1 second, but I'll just tell you a little bit about your arrows because these are kind of fun. Your top right arrow is how you digest the world. And so it's how you take in information. So this is a little more passive, like you kind of sit back and let it absorb. In terms of food and routines, like you're more likely, or for your body would be more likely to do well with less routine. Like you can be less structured,
Yeah.
your day can be
Totally.
less structured, you might eat different
Yeah.
things every day at different times, right? So it's like you kind of go with the flow, and you take information like very broadly and just allow yourself to absorb what's around you. It's not like sort of an instant thing, like you sort of sit back and take it all in. This bottom left is your environment. And so your environment is kitchens, dry, which is kind of fun. And that means you're sort of like a little alchemist. You take bits and pieces of everything and you put them together like magically, like a chef. That's why they call it kitchens, I guess. Like some of these terms are so wacky, but
Okay.
you like a dry environment. So I'm guessing like in Canada, that's actually kind of good for you because you're in like a colder, drier climate.
I'm in like the driest
Yes.
part of Canada where I live. It's literally, I'm
Yeah.
like an hour drive from our local desert.
Yeah. And that's what it is. And probably like in the winters, very dry and you get very cold winters. And so that is actually very aligned for you.
Oh, amazing.
You also like to travel. So like according to your chart would say that you like to sort of go and be in different environments, and switching
Yeah.
up where you work can be good for you. The way you do things on a daily basis can change. You know, you're not like
Totally.
super rigid in terms of that. Like you
Yeah.
have discipline in your schedule, but you're not tied to it. So you allow yourself some
Right.
freedom there, which is good. And then your awareness is more controlled. So in terms of how you learn, you probably like more details, specifics, like a traditional learning environment, I'm assuming may have been aligned for you. Like, did you like school, like traditional school? Like, did you do well in that?
No, well, yes, I did well in school, but I was in actually a different program. So I was in personal education. So it
Ah.
was traditional school, but with total flexibility. So I got to come and go and do what I
So
wanted
you
to do
got
every day.
kind of both, right? Which is good for
Yeah.
you because you kind of do well in either one based on like your environment and the flexibility, and then also like being able to then have traditional learning. But you most
Take
likely,
that.
and you also have a lot of ones in your chart, so you probably like to learn and gather information
Oh
and
yeah. I
details.
mean,
Yeah, like
it's
that.
my
You're a
favorite thing.
4-6, but I'm like this too. Like there's so many ones. Like you have more ones in your chart than actually your profile, like your 4-6 profile, which is pretty cool. And then this is my favorite one I always like to tell people. So from a manifestation perspective, you're non-specific. So if you want to call something in, it's never going to be about the details for you. It's going to be way more broad and the feeling behind it. So if you wanted a new house, it's not going to be like, I want a 4-bedroom house with 3 bathrooms. So you can kind of like have a sense of that, but it's going to be, I want a house where I feel this way. Like I want a house that feels spacious, or I want a house that feels comfortable and homey and makes me feel safe, or whatever it is. It's going to be more about the feeling for you. So when you manifest, like you don't have to be super specific because it's always going to be something better than what you envision, which
Okay.
is fun. I have that
I like
too. And it's kind of weird
that.
because people are like, be very specific in your manifestations, but that doesn't actually work for everybody.
Yes. I like
Okay,
that.
so authority. So the way you make decisions. So for you, you have emotional authority. And as I said, this is 50% of the population. So even though you're very fast as a manifesting generator, you have this defined solar plexus, which means when it comes to making decisions, you have to slow down. You
Okay.
also will like drive the emotional environment around you. So like if you're in a really good mood or a really bad mood, that could tend to really affect the people around you that might be emotionally undefined. So they're going to
Okay.
feel you whatever kind of mood you're in. Like you're going to tell them like how it's going to be that day. And it's hard for people that are emotionally undefined because sometimes like they have to know that it's not them. So like if
Okay.
one of your kids was emotionally undefined and like you're feeling very intense on a certain day, like they might feel that, but it's learning to say like, oh, that's not mine. Like I'll have to do that, with people around me. I have to be like, I actually would have thought my mother was emotionally defined the way she acts because she like drives the emotions in the room. And now I know like whatever she was doing, she's probably just out of alignment. I was like, oh, her shit's not mine. And so for you, it's good for you to know like if you are like that you could be like if then your kid starts acting out or somebody around you starts
Yeah.
acting out, it could be because they're feeling what you're feeling and just they're
Yeah.
reflecting it
Yeah.
back to you. And
Right.
so for you, this can be a challenging one for people that like to move fast because you can make quick decisions from your sacral because you have that or your intuition. But when you have a big decision, you need emotional clarity. And so you're going to have to ride, you have a wave that you're going to have to ride. And so there's never going to be truth in the now for you. And it's never going to come from your mind. And what's going to happen is you have this, particular channel. It's the 35 to 36 and it goes through like, it's almost like kind of like an escalator. Like it goes up, up, up. Like if somebody says, Liz, do you want to go on vacation? It goes like up and you're like, yes, yes, I really want to take this vacation. And then like all of a sudden, a day or two later, you're like, I don't want to take this vacation. And then it'll like crash. And again, I don't
Right.
know if this resonates for you. If you feel
It
this
does.
in
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're going to sort of
Totally.
have like a fall, like almost like falling
Yeah.
off a cliff. And then you're going to be like, absolutely no. But then it's that short lived. And then you'll kind of start to go up again. And so the trick with this is for you to sleep on it. Like never, it could happen really fast, but it's like kind of one of these things like for small decisions, give it 5 minutes, sleep on it for bigger ones. And for huge ones, give it at least a week because it's going to go
Okay.
up and down. And then eventually what it's going to do is it's going to level out. Like, so you're not going to be in that super high and you're not going to be in the crash. You're going to feel more steady. So if you pay attention to that wave as it goes up and down, you'll start to notice it come. It's never going to be 100%. And this is the tricky part. It's going to be like 75 to 80% neutral, but you're going to not feel like the high or the low. And then you make the decision when you're in that place of neutrality. And this is like definitely one that people have to practice.
Yeah.
But so don't ever be pressured to make decisions. I think that's probably the biggest
Oh,
takeaway is
okay.
you
Okay.
don't,
Yeah.
you're going to be like, I work with Emma Dunwoody and she is emotional authority. Like I ask her stuff and I never expect to get a quick answer. Like I know with certain things, especially bigger things, it's going to be like a few days before I hear
Okay.
back from her. And that's okay. People will be fine with it and just say like, I sleep on things and, like,
Yeah.
and people have to accept that.
Okay.
Even with clients, like if it's a client you're not sure of and you're having this like yes, no, like think about
Yeah.
it.
And that might even be good to tell people because sometimes like, I mean, right now I have this one client who I like, they've been waiting for like 2 weeks and I like haven't even really gotten back to them. And it's not, and I love her and I love her work and I love her business. And I'm like, I also think I'm really getting burnt out. Like my brain is getting like a little fried because I feel like I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking longer for clients. But so this girl, like, I almost, it would be beneficial for me to tell these people, like, it's not that it's not important, but if you want me, then you have to wait until almost like I have to find the path through the forest that's right for that person. And
Yes.
then I can go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Where, if that doesn't come, like I cannot force
You
it. I
can't force it.
can't.
And that's fine too. I mean, I think like that's something that
Yeah.
I've learned even working in this space too, is it's when I worked in corporate, like no one would understand that. If I was like, well, I have to wait for
Yeah.
something to respond to. We're like working with somebody like Emma, she knows that like I can't say to you, I'm gonna have 3 ideas for you this month. Like I have to just and the thing is that pressure sometimes almost I think can sort of like block you. So like kinks your hose. because you're probably feeling like the open root pressure, right? Because you're like, I have to get back to them. I have to get back to them. But you're also not having the inspiration from your other pressure center up there. And it's like, they're almost like pushing on you, which probably is making it take even longer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good advice that even for like letting clients know, like, you know, we can come up with a plan, but sometimes the plan takes longer, not because I'm ignoring you, but because the right plan just hasn't
Right. And you could go with
arrived.
like the first little thing that comes along, but it's not
That's
maybe
not
going to
the
be the
best thing.
correct
And
thing.
I know when it's great. Like I can feel it
Yes.
viscerally, top to
Mhm.
bottom, head to toe. It takes me 8 seconds to get the work done. Like it's
Right.
insane. But if I'm not, if the fire, like if the, like the click doesn't click, then there's nothing
Well,
I
and
can
that's
do.
your sacral. So that's like all these centers working together. It's
Mhm.
showing you how your energy moves through your body, because then when you have that fire, you're going to get it done really quickly. And so
Right.
I think sometimes like for somebody like you, it could even be helpful to just talk about your process and put that out on the table and just say, listen, this isn't a very defined process. It's creative. You're going to get much
Ah,
better work out of me if you can be patient with me, and just, it's like you're like an artiste. Like you just have to allow people to know that and inform. And that's again, like that's your informing, right? So like, you know, that idea is going to come, but you have to tell these people, and then you're going to have less, they're probably going to be like, okay. Like if you said that to me, I'd be like, all right, I'd rather have the better product. I can wait a month, or, whatever it is.
yeah, because what I'm learning, like what I've learned even about my job just the other day, I talk about funny things that stumble upon, is that it's very fucking interesting, to be honest, is that so now finally people are looking at social media as being more than just like stupid social media and
Right.
actual real life marketing, right? So like C-suite people. But your customer is also looking at social media as customer service.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Right.
Where but right now they're hiring traditional marketers. So more C-suite people are believing that social media is important. So they're
hmm
hiring marketers to market on social media, but marketers don't have any confidence in customer service at all.
All right. Well, so
None.
when someone's like, Southwest, you lost my bags or whatever, like
And the
the
marketer's
marketing
like,
people.
we're not responding to that email,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's why we always
So
say PR people should own social media, because we also understand issues management. And so sometimes, like when you have a PR person, they sort of get that relationship a little bit more. So it's not just
yeah.
like pushing out, it's about like, how does this affect someone's perception of us more broadly?
Exactly that.
hmm
Yeah. So it's almost like, and then that's also where I had this like light bulb moment because I'm like, well, how do I do it differently that like my results are really great or the connections are made or like these new pathways are like come to life or blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, because I get customer service from,
Yep.
whatever being the floor, sales is about customer service, sales and marketing.
It's everything.
It's all of
Well,
those
that's your
things.
manifesting generatorness. Like you can figure out how to bring all of that together for
Yeah.
somebody.
And so sometimes when you're waiting, well, like go and hire a marketer or a great graphic designer if you want pretty graphics, go and do that, go and do that. But if you want it to be like cover all of these bases, like that's a lot to think about.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should think about hiring like like even junior people that could do all of those things. Like you could put a little like group together, like, or find
Oh
other consultants.
man, if things keep going how they're going with Ringette Alberta, I won't be surprised if I just move to take over Ringette Canada and
And
try to
just
get
stop.
all the provinces and get the
Yeah.
provinces aligned. Like it's insane. But
I know,
yeah,
because you're doing that too. I forgot that that's right. You're doing like so much shit.
oh, we're killing it. Like just the Ringette Alberta
I
stuff is
love
just, it's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Yeah. Killing
It's
it.
so
The
cool.
development.
And that's the beauty of you and what you can do. Like you also have like you have this energy in your chart too, and it's actually your conscious sun. And we'll talk more about it in a minute. But like when I hear you talking, it's your timing is so important. And that
So
five
important.
sort of has this like pressure in its own way to sort of like do it and do it now and get it done. But at the same time, you can't be held to that. Like it's sort of like this energy of knowing when the timing is right. And I think that that's really important for you to communicate to your clients too, is that your timing is like, I have this too. And I remember working in corporate and people were like, push the client for this, do this. And I'd be like, no, it's just not the time yet. Like, I'm going to get you a better result if you just let me do it when the time is right. Like you
Mhm,
feel
mhm,
it's a
mhm.
feeling, right? So it's not even your mind being afraid to ask or to do something. It's literally within your body, and our bodies are so much smarter than our minds. And so
Yeah.
trust that wave when it comes. Like if you're feeling like you need to drop something, or you're like, I'm not doing this anymore, or I want to go focus on ring at, like that is what you're meant to be doing. And if you don't have the energy for it, like you're saying, it's not the time. Like I've done that. I've written my website because I forced myself and then had to rewrite it. So it's kind of like you're never going to get that best result when your body's telling you it's not time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could be conditioned too. So like even looking at like you have some hanging gates, you have a small split, but it's just like that these centers don't all talk to each other. And so where you
Okay.
actually have potential for conditioning is trusting your timing. Like,
Oh,
right? And like you see, you could be conditioned to like be forced into timing. And also like being pushed to do something like just because you can. So it doesn't mean you have to. Like if someone says to you, Liz, you should do this, or I want you to do this. Like you can help these people, but it doesn't mean that you have to. And you have guilt motivation, which also is like you're here to provide solutions for people. So you can solve people's
yeah.
problems, you can see how to fix it, but it's really important for you to only fix the things that are correct for you. So that's where your emotional authority is going to come in. You're going to feel the guilt and want to fix it, but you have to ask yourself, like, and ride that wave. Is this the problem for me to fix? Or can this person go solve their problem somewhere else? Like you really have to choose. I mean, and there's always things we have to do that we don't want to do, right? But from all of the other stuff that's not like, a family obligation or whatever, and even some of those it's good to say no to sometimes, but
Yeah.
think about that and like be cautious about multitasking, because that's the other thing for you. You have your splits in gate 34, which can be like too much multitasking, or you could be conditioned just to be too busy. Like you need
Mm,
to give
mm.
yourself the space and the rest. Like that's really important for you. Some other really strong energies that you have, which I think are really beautiful for you, because like I just see these being so aligned for you, is that you have, and it's exactly what you're just talking about, the 4426 channel, which is they call the channel of the entrepreneur, but you have this very strong energy to improve old concepts. So like you take things that have been there and you can like flip them on its head to say like, here's how we need to change this and do this differently, because this is what the world needs right now. Or like you're saying, this is where social media is going. Like I'm hearing these words come right out of
Yeah.
your mouth, which is amazing. And the thing about this channel though, is you have to just make sure you're delivering what you're trying to say to the right audience. It needs to be recognized and invited. So if you're saying it to someone that's not ready to hear it, they're going to look at you maybe like you're kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about, or this won't
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's got to be like in a receptive way. And this is actually the one that also has to do with smell. So like if you don't like the smell of someone, like you smell it, kind of like smell a rat or something's fishy, like you also have this is because it's in your spleen. So it's also an intuitive gate, the 44. Like you have this whole kind of like you just know, like if somebody's bullshitting you, or if you don't trust them, you sort of, and you may even, some people literally will smell a certain smell, or like have like a sensation in their nose. So like that doesn't manifest that way in everybody, but you have that energy in your chart, and it's part of like a very prominent channel that you have.
Okay.
Just kind of fun. And then you also have the channel of curiosity, which is sort of like, it's your ideas motivate other people to take action. And so you're
Okay.
always looking for more knowledge, more experiences. Like you have like, and that's also in your incarnation cross, like which is kind of like your purpose. And so you have like a hunger for new experiences, but they really have to have purpose. So that's important for you too. Like, don't just try something new for the sake of trying something new. Make sure that it's bringing you some sort of fulfillment or purpose. Like, don't be busy for busy's sake, I guess is like the best way to say that. And you also are a storyteller, which is very evident to me. You have a gift for language and embellishment. Like you're good at taking life experiences and turning them into stories and anecdotes. And that's why you're so good at guiding people, because you're good at the mechanics and the logistics and all of the data related to social, but you're really good. Like how you told me to do that one video, like you literally gave me the way to do it, which I would never in a million years have come up with on my own. And so you know how to get a reaction from an audience. And I think that's like a really beautiful thing in what you do too. So like I loved that for you. I was like, oh my God, that's like so Liz. And so you also then, the way you do it is like you tell these stories or guide people to tell these stories that then other people will sort of take and retell to each other as advice. So it's sort of like a whisper down the lane. Like, I heard this really cool thing and it made me think this. And then they sort of like they share it. Like so it's like going viral, literally, which is like what this what this channel is saying. But the interesting part of this is there's always like a little catch, is that these stories will work for other people, but they're never necessarily for you. So like you're really good at doing this for other people. Like you're the guide and the advisor. And your interpretations are going to bring something new to the collective, like a new perspective. And like, even though they might seem a little out there at first to some people, it's going to help them see
Right.
things differently.
Okay.
I love that for you. And so so moving into your vocation, which is, this is sort of like the part where you pushed out of your comfort zone, or the wound that you've healed, that is kind of what you're here to help other people. This is kind of what Jess and I are working on, like to help people kind of get to the market. And I'll send you all, I have like tons of
Right.
notes I'll send to you, and you can like take them and do what you want with them. But so you help people let go of the fear of being visible, and you make it feel easy. And you support them through the process, even when they're anxious or afraid that they're going to fail.
Okay.
And you help them show the world their true, authentic self, because you intuitively know which pieces are going to resonate with the audience for long-term success. So this is about preservation. It's like what stays and what goes. And you can look at maybe what I'm saying out there and say, this is what should stay, this is what should go. Like you
Yeah.
just have you have like a nose for that. And so you can help people connect with their inner truth, but then tell them how to bring it out. And then this helps them create a legacy by shining themselves outward. So like they literally have a legacy of what exists, whether it's on their YouTube channel or, in the media, whatever you're helping people do on all these different fronts. And again, like, even though what you tell people may not feel logical to them at the moment, you can see what's going to benefit them and the audience. And that's like, I would think about that as SEO too. Like, to me, that's like,
Mhm.
like using ancient language to like
Yeah.
explain something very modern, which is, which pieces are going to like catapult people to attention. And then you help them also release the worry that the results aren't going to come, because you truly believe that when we focus on what matters, which is the love and the value that all of our businesses are putting out in the world, that we can surrender to the outcome and let go of all that fear and just trust that the results are going to come. So it's like we're doing things from the right place of our heart. So that's sort of like essentially what you would have had to learn yourself. And then this is what you
Right.
help other people
Totally.
do.
Yeah, totally.
Does that
Totally.
resonate with
Totally.
you?
I mean, that just came to light. Like, I think it was like yesterday or today, where it was like, if I wouldn't have tried to have my own YouTube channel, which, in my mind was a failure, then I would have never had this. I wouldn't have had that. So I had to fail in my
Yeah.
mind at YouTube to succeed at the like master plan.
Yes.
And like,
Well, do you want to hear the funniest part of that, what
okay.
you're saying? So this is in the line 3, which the line 3 is all about trial and error. I just posted a video on this today. And so literally, I mean, I'll kind of give you some of the like more specifics from it, but like the 3 is you fail, and it's not even fail, but it's like you get bump into things, right? And you get messy and you make mistakes and you try and try again and you get back up. But what you've learned is what other people need from you.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, I think that, and that's just exactly it. Like, I think what people need from me is to be like, you get to come out here in these online digital worlds, do things that are going to work or going to not work. But, the big picture is going to work.
Yes.
So don't give up at the failure. And I think that's what, right?
And that's exactly what it is. Like, you make people feel good about it. You help them take new approaches. You're showing them like the old ways are outdated. This is what I can see. This is what will work. Like, you're giving them this from your own experience. Like, you have your finger on the pulse of what's like kind of like hot and trendy, and you can show them the angles that they can capitalize on as hooks. Like, what's going to capture attention. Like, you have an eye for that, and you're savvy and you're wise. You bring efficiency to the process. You understand all the layers and the levels, and you literally are a jack of all trades. Like, you take all of these pieces and put them together in your unique way. And I really don't think that there's anyone I've come across in this, like the digital space, that does all the things that you do in the way that you do. And so it's really cool, because it's literally written in your soul.
Man, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And so the way you make people feel, so this is your like sort of your brand or your life's work. And again, there's like so much more to this. Like, if you ever want to dig into it more as you start to write stuff, like I can even give you like the book, the Gene Keys book, and where to look for these things. And you might read them and things are going to resonate for you. I can send you the audio.
you have notes on some of it,
I
right? You
do.
said?
I have like, it's all
Amazing.
written down. Like I'm talking,
Amazing.
like just glancing. So I remember the
Amazing.
order, but like I always type it out because it kind of helps me like to sort of
Sure.
intuitively interpret it. Like I throw it all into like a document. So I'll send it all. It's in my OneNote. I'll send it to you.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
you make people feel,
Okay.
so you're like very open-hearted and it's contagious. Like you make people feel good to work with you. You march to the beat of your own drum and you help people to trust the process because you know that it's not necessarily about pushing. Like that's not what's going to make people. It's like you were talking and this is your, again, your timing. Like you have to know when. And so that strong inner sense of timing is going to help the clients trust that the results are going to come because waiting is active. Like we always think like waiting, we're not doing anything, but what we learn, when we sort of get out of our minds and trust our bodies is that like waiting isn't, especially for us as generator types, and that's 70% of the world, waiting is literally an active state. So we have to remember that. Like that's really important for people like us. And most people are like us. Like waiting is active. We're doing something when we're waiting. And so everything happens in its own
Okay.
time. You're influential, but also calm. And you help people like to get out of the stress and the agitation. And then they know they're in good hands with you. Like you can do more than most people in very little time. You're literally a time bender. And that's a manifesting generator thing.
Dude, I'm literally a time bender.
Yeah. You are. I mean, like you'll see it in my notes. Like you are a time bender. Like
That
that's,
is literally the only way I can get through my life with all my
but
work. Is that
people,
I
you're a time lord. There was Emma has this whole thing in each. It's like I'm a time lord. I have all the time in the world. Like I tell every day when I'm stressed, I'm like I'm a time lord. I have all the time in the world.
yeah, I literally like I know that in like an hour and a half I do what most people do in an 8-hour day.
Yep. Yeah, you do. And like that's what's so great. And like you can do that. And that's why you have to work with the clients that are going to trust that in you. Like
Oh
I
my God.
trust
Okay.
that in
I've
you.
actually said to myself that, okay, I have this concept that I do in my brain. I'm like, okay, today we have lots to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to stretch time. So we're
Yeah.
going to take an hour and we're going to turn it into 4 hours of work.
Well, when you're
So
in flow, you do. Like that's what I find. Like when I'm in flow, I'm like,
yeah,
oh, only an hour passed. But like then
so
when I'm getting nothing done, I'm like, shit, 4 hours just went by and I didn't do jack. Like it's,
so
but when you,
crazy.
so that's why you have to trust your timing. And when you're in that
Yeah.
flow, you're going to be in that flow. And so
Yeah.
like you're good at listening to other people, you're authentic, you're honest, you're putting your heart back in your business. Like people can feel that from you. And you're like telling people like there's more to business than just like results and making money, because when you don't focus on those things come. Like that's when they come, when you're not, but you're a people person. I mean, you're a people person. You're line 4, which means your network, your people, like you need to be with the right people. That's really, really important for you. And the people that you're supposed to work with, they are people that live according to their true nature. They want the most out of life. They're going to feed your spirit and not drain it. Like they're going to believe that their limits are only self-imposed. You can do whatever you want, right? Like only our minds tell us what we can't do. They're going to be able to see problems as opportunities and be flexible in working with you and adaptable. Definitely laughter. Like you have a lot of humor in your charts. It's like bringing laughter and fun. Like that's who you want to work with, the people that you can have a good time with, but you're balancing that with hard work, people that have a lot of self-love, that are grateful, and that really appreciate like the value of a good story and entertainment, because that is like where your gifts lie. And also like heart opening content is important too. So like for you, it's a
Mhm,
lot about the
mhm.
attitude of the people that you work with. Like that's literally what is going to, and it's the gift of that gate is enrichment. And that's literally what's going to enrich your life if you can work with those types of people. So that's important to you, but you're magnetic. And when you create space and wait, you're going to attract like the right ideas, the right clients, the right opportunities. You can do a million things at once. You're here to change how people feel about other people. And, you're authentic. And like, this is all your, like your fourth line, you're putting your heart back in business. You're showing people that there's just more to life than just this, like churn and drudgery that I think that we all get sucked into. And then the other thing about you too that's cool is that you're a line 6, and this may feel like less conscious to you, but you are a role model. And so sometimes when it's in the unconscious position, it's hard to see yourself that way, but people will look at you, and it doesn't mean that you're telling people, but people are like, wow, whatever Liz is doing, like you could just tell she's in a really good place, or she's very really fulfilled. And so you're
Yeah.
inspiring people just by being who you are, and then you're evolving and people see your evolution. And so you're living true to yourself and people see that, and that's what makes you like the role model. And so you and I have the same profile, like we're both a 4-6. So like I was always like, I'm not a role model. I don't see myself as that. But like when you think about it from that perspective, it's like when we live the
Yeah.
best life that we can live, we're demonstrating that
Right.
it's possible for other people. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you've felt this, but like the 6 line lives in like a 3-phase life. In many cases, it's not exact, but it's like 0 to 30 is very much a lot of that trial and error, sort of like the line 3 we just talked about. Then 30 to 50, you kind of like step back a little bit, but like in our in our 40s, like we kind of start to like come back up, and like you start to see this like sort of building again, like you're ready to come back out into the world. The middle
Yeah.
section, you're kind of like observing, sitting back, like figuring out, what do you want, what have I learned, I'm integrating my
Yeah.
lessons. And then it's like from 50, like it doesn't have to be 50, it happens for a lot of people sooner, but like just to give it rough numbers, from 50
Right.
onward, it's like the best period of our lives. So like that excites me, because I'm like, I have like nothing but good things to look forward
Oh
to.
man, I definitely feel like I'm in that third phase.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like, and you are
10,000%.
like, you're right there. And so it's like, it's only going to get better. Like the better it gets, the better it gets. And you're on this like upward trajectory, which is fun. And then I know I don't know if you have to go right now. All right. But your incarnation cross, which is sort of your purpose and why you're here. And I thought you would think it was cool that you share the same incarnation cross as Walt Disney, which is kind of
Whoa.
cool.
Whoa.
Freddie Mercury is another one. And
Oh,
Anderson Cooper. They were like the 3 that came up when I was like looking at your incarnation cross. And so
wow.
you're sort of your purpose, or why you're here, like what your soul came to do, is you're here to bridge the past and the future. So it's like looking at past experiences and then creating future solutions for the greater whole, which again kind of ties in with all those other energies that we talked about, like how you can kind of see where things are moving, right? So
Yeah.
you have very powerful mental drive, but it's for others, not you. So it can be frustrating when you're trying to find your own answers, but if you just trust and wait to respond, they're going to come to you without really having, it's going to feel a lot more effortless. And so you do have you can be impatient, or you might be restless or hungry for new things. So I think I mentioned this earlier, like anything you do should really have purpose. Like always look at what you're filling your time with and make sure it has purpose for you, because that's really, really important. And don't let like the confusion of your thoughts, force you into being rigid, or like doing, like feeling like you have to do things a certain way. Like you really, really are here to kind of just do it in your way.
Yeah.
And life is literally going to bring you whatever you need in the moment, as long as you just, trust and wait to respond to it. So like, again, like for you, the 64 and the 63 are on like this left side of your chart here. And that's where like you just be careful. Like don't like confusing thoughts. Like there's can be a lot of like doubt and confusion that could creep in for you
Yeah.
from time to time. And so it's just really important to know that, especially because they're in an undefined center, like you could have a lot of conditioning around those things. So they're just not yours. Like whenever you feel those feelings of doubt and confusion, like you said, go take a nap. Like when it's swirling, or whatever, like meditate, take a nap, whatever you need to do to get out of that. But it's not yours. It's just literally like your mind isn't here to control anything. You just have to follow where life leads you. And it's literally can be that simple.
Mhm. Okay.
And let's see what else. I think that's it. I mean, there's like a lot more in here. And like I said, if there's things that kind of resonate with you when you look at this, like if you want to dig into any of it more, I can give you stuff to read and listen to, and you can like use it. But I feel like the section in the middle that kind of talks about like what you're here to do, how you make people feel, the vocation, like
Yeah.
that might give you some stuff to contemplate. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you better than anyone can take that and turn that into marketing language.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm just going to keep it that simple, to be honest. And I think that comes back to like, I don't really think about it for me. And I
Mhm.
think that's kind of like, I think that's kind of, because I mean, I'm really drawn to the idea of making my stuff very, very simple and kind of, and I think all that's it, right? Like it's all here.
And you don't need a lot, because as a 4th line, it's like, I mean, I look at it now, like I did my website, I did all this stuff, but like, and I like having it because I feel like it's actually helped me come to clarity. But in
Mhm.
terms of bringing in business, like for you, you know what you do, like I had no fucking clue what I was doing until like a year ago, right? And so like, but
Right.
you know what you do for people, your business is going to come in from other people. Like that is just literally the way the 4th line works. Like I watch my husband do it, he's in sales. And I'm like, you don't even need to like prospect people. I'm like, you just look through your network on LinkedIn. And you're like, oh, I can sell this to like they need this solution or what, and it really happens that it's It
What
just
does your
crazy to
husband,
me.
where does he work?
He actually just took a new job. Now he sells, I laugh, I say he sells faxes. Like he sells fax machines, but he's a nurse actually. He's a registered nurse, but he has always worked in like he's done everything. He worked in the hospital, pharma, but lately he's been in sales. So he was doing software sales for like some oncology clinical decision support stuff. And now he is selling, it's like, I guess like everyone in healthcare still uses fax solutions, but it's some like electronic fax solution, but he sells it in this very complex way because he understands like all the different, like what the insurers use it
These
for, with the
jobs are
providers.
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it's all through his network. I mean, like he
And he probably
literally
makes so much money selling this random thing.
he does, yeah, he does very, very well. And you know what? It's like, but he does it in a way like for us too. Like we've always been very fortunate on the financial front, but like it's never been the main thing for us. Like for us, it's been so we've quit jobs. Like it's just always been so much more
Yeah.
important for us to like enjoy our lives and like what we
Right.
do and not be like stressed. And
Yeah.
we both have been in like terribly stressful jobs and like to seen like the toll of
Yeah.
that.
I'm
And
done
I'll
with that.
never do it
Done with
again.
that.
No,
Yeah.
no. Well,
No,
was this
done with
helpful?
that.
Was this
No.
helpful for you?
Amazing. Yeah. Totally great.
All right. I mean, I'll
Totally
take
great.
any
I
like
love
honest, constructive feedback too. Like you won't hurt my feelings. So like anything you can think of that like you would like to have differently or too much information, not enough
No, I
on
think it's
certain things.
great.
Okay. Because I
No,
mean,
it was perfect. Like, I think again, trust like exactly what it is that you think you need to say. Because there were so many things like you didn't just stick to my work, which is what I really liked.
mhm,
Especially I think in our world of like female entrepreneurs, because our work and our lives are blended. Like you
yes.
said, we don't take a job that we hate, right? Like my job is my life at the same time,
Hmm.
you know? So I
Well,
mean,
we love
having
our work. And so like work doesn't feel like
totally.
work, right?
Totally. And so things like, if you're like feeling away, like so often I'm like, oh, I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna go to a coffee shop and work. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't. I should just stay here and force myself to push through it. Now I'm gonna be like, screw that. I
You
totally have
should,
ideas.
because
I should go to the
you're
coffee
going to go
shop.
sit in a coffee shop and work, and you are going to be you'll get more done, even though it seems like it's crazy and busy around you. You're going to be picking
Yeah.
up that energy, and it's actually going to probably give you some of those like sparks of
Mhm.
ideas that you might not have or inspiration, really.
Yeah. And a lot of the like, yeah, like really, really, just really good things. Like, you know, a lot of like the sit back and wait and like trust your intuition and like a lot of it like the first instincts are really good, and I
Hmm.
I liked how it was all over the place, to be
Yeah, and
honest.
that's what it is. And the thing is, you'll
Yeah.
start to see, like when I look at the charts, like you see the energy integrated, so you'll see the same things, and that's why sometimes I'm always like, okay, we kind of did that already, because it's like they repeat. Like you have these themes that kind of come through that make it kind of fun to see too, because you're seeing these like repetitive patterns, which show you why it's so strong. But for you, the most important things are, remember that you have emotional authority. Like if you did nothing else from
Fine.
this, like don't make big decisions without time. Like remember the
Yeah.
escalator and just like make sure once it gets to like more like you're on that stable floor for a longer period of time, like that's when you make that decision,
Okay.
and then waiting to respond and informing. Like for you, like
I like
that's
that.
probably the most important. They're like the two most important things to understand.
Oh yeah, and I really liked for like my website and design, like figuring out like how do I show up for myself. And I like that idea of like, being the story, like being the storyteller,
Hmm.
and the throat made for speaking. And now just thinking of like, okay, well, just treat because yeah, if you put me in a room full of people, I have no problem knowing what to say
Yes.
next.
Yep.
And
You
so
do.
just
And it's
do
it's
that and then stick
instinctive.
it all on a website. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And emotion, like you can speak your emotion, you can speak your thoughts because you have
Yeah.
connections like right there, which is kind of cool. And like sharing your trial and error, I think is really important for you too. Like
Yeah.
even though you're a 4-6, like in your vocation, it's in a line 3. It's literally meant to, share people like share with people what you have learned in the
Yeah.
experience of what worked and what didn't.
Yeah, I'm really feeling that. And like just the last couple days, it's really been like I'm actually really supposed to share my success now from the perspective of I could have only gotten here had I not done all of these things wrong.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
It led you to where you needed to be. Like you had to have those
I had to
experiences.
figure these things out, right? Yeah. And I think like even more and more like part of, teaching people like you and all the people like, I mean, more and more and more I find myself saying lately, like, it's a damn good thing that the Wright brothers didn't wait for their degree in aviation.
Mm-hmm. Right. You have to build the plane as you fly it, right?
And I'm like, we're in this post-COVID world, everything's different. People work from home. People have, careers have changed. How we interact has changed. Like I have my closest friendships and my best business relationships are not even in the
Oh, I
office.
know. I understand. Like I'm the same way. Like
It's
like
crazy.
Emma, I'm talking to like Jess, my friend, other Liz Zamorsky is in Sweden. I'm like talking this guy I met on Fiverr that wrote an article for me in Scotland. Like we've become friends. Like I was like saying hi to
Yeah,
his baby last night. Like
I
Zoom, and I'm
know.
like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
So I just feel like I'm also meant to have this and tell the story of like, I didn't believe in myself, yet here I am. Here I am being like, at the point where I have to tell people like, you can work with me, but you have to wait 30 to 60 days for
And
anything.
people will, Liz. Like that's the
Oh,
thing. Like
yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you just firsthand. Like if I really resonate with somebody, or if I hear somebody on a podcast and I can't get an appointment for a month, I still book that call. I mean, I just
Yeah.
think it's our frequency is so much more important than anything that we
Yeah.
say. And I think it's like what we're putting out into the world. If it's from our hearts and it's authentic, and it's not like we're just trying to like make a quick buck from people feel that.
Yeah. And I think, and that's true. Cause I do think like when I tell people, like, I don't know, I got booked for like UX design or something. And I told the guy, I'm like, I can't do anything to help you for a month. But I think when I say that to people, they get like, they can feel that like, I could take it and do a
Yeah.
bad job really quickly, but I can't do that. Like, that's just not an option. And so they feel like I have to give you all my energy, and I don't have energy for a month.
No, and that's
My
and
energy is like
knowing that's
pre-booked.
important because like you're not going to
Yeah.
have the energy for the work you love then. So like just remember that. Like take the
Yeah.
stuff that feels really good and that you have the energy for, and the rest like or you find referral partners, and then you don't feel bad like but you can't help everybody. Like you have to remember that too. Like it literally says
Yeah.
that in your chart. Like you cannot help every single person.
Totally. Yeah, no, totally. No, it was amazing. Yeah, and you're gonna send me this because I'll cut off the front and the back and we'll put it up as like a sample human
Oh,
design
okay. If
template.
you want to, don't go crazy. I know you're busy, or I'll pay
No,
you to do it. Like
no,
you've done so many of these shorts and
no.
everything.
That was the trade, dude. That was the
All right.
trade.
Well, let me
And
know,
it's
like, if
one-
anything sparks in your mind, like pieces of this, like that, because I am thinking, like, as I make new videos for Instagram,
Yeah.
like, I definitely think there's parts of this where I can talk about, like, now I kind of know my why. Like, I sort of know what I want to help people do now. And I feel like it's about
So what
PR,
do
but it's,
you want to do now?
well, it's about empowering people is what I really think. So like I can help them with the PR piece, right? Like whether it's me doing it for them or teaching them how to do it. But what I really think that I'm doing, and like I actually just even put up on my site like readings, and Jess Bubico and I are going to launch a course just to do this with entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
like literally help them clarify their business through the Gene Keys and then figure out what to say
Okay.
too, right? And so what I think it is, it's like people don't know how to market themselves or what to say, or they don't feel confident saying it. We're literally giving them the language that is in their DNA. Like it's their genetic birthright to be these
Mm-hmm.
things and say these things. And
Mm-hmm.
it's giving them the like empowerment to own it and really say like, I am these things for people, or this
Yeah.
is what I'm doing for people. So it's giving
Mhm.
people like the permission to use what's already theirs. They just don't know where it is or how to find it.
Well, and almost, okay, so here's something for you and Jess, because like I did one of these with Jess, and then I had another one with you, and not that yours was better than Jess's or whatever, but I just think, am I further along in my understanding? So am I able to like, did Jess tell me? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to what she says, but it doesn't really make sense. And then
Mm-hmm.
slowly the evidence has like trickled into my world.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's getting reinforced, right? So it's almost like, and I don't know
Oh,
what
so
you guys
you've done some of this before with Jess. I didn't realize that you
Jess
had done that.
just
Ah.
did one, but and it was, I mean, it was good, but you speak, you like really, I don't know. I don't even know, like, and it seems like I don't know how I hear it because I don't feel like I hear it, but it makes so much sense. So like, and I don't know, just from literally editing your videos, I like got a ringette story on CTV News because I had to do a press release.
I love that.
Crazy, crazy. So, and that's the thing about you is like somehow how you speak, it really like makes sense because probably in my chart, it says something like I have my brain thinks without my conscious knowing that it's thinking.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Well,
then
you
it all
have the
comes
head
back to
channels
me.
going on too, which do a lot of that. I mean, the other thing too is like we are similar types. So Like
Mhm.
Jess is like the rare type that's the only 88% that can initiate. It doesn't mean she doesn't understand it. Jess, though, also, like, that's, I think, why Jess and I actually work really well together, because she sort of brings like a very esoteric look to it. It's like this very like high level, where I kind of feel like for me, the practicality is really important. So like,
Yeah.
I want to kind of know, like, what do I do with this? Like,
I
that's
like the,
really,
what do I do with this? Yeah.
yes, because like we're kind of like, let's go, like we got to get this moving. I want to know, like, it needs to be
And
practical. I
you
need
do
to
that
be,
when you're teaching PR too. What do you
yes,
do with this? It's like, I can tell you all this, but instead of that, I'm going to tell you what to take this and do
and
this.
do
And I
something with
like
it. And so like that's why Jess and I are
that.
kind
Yeah.
of good, because she's sort of good at like helping with the business clarity. Like, what do you want your business to be, or how does this fit into that? Where I'm more
Yeah.
like, okay, like this is how we're going to present ourselves to the world. Like, even if it's in an email to somebody you want to network with, it doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
even have to be media, but it's PR really is any visibility. And you could take this and use it with literally any interaction with another human being, and it's going to
Totally.
make you magnetic, because it's gonna resonate as
Oh
truth, because
yeah.
it's
And even
authentic.
like, I mean, even in my relationship, sometimes like, cause you're like the decisions and waiting. And sometimes like, I don't know what would it be in his thing, but sometimes he can be like, okay, hey, do you want to do this weekend? And I'm like, I can tell he's wanting like a yes or a no. And I kind of have a yes or a no, but I'm like, well, let me just,
Think
I
about
really
it.
feel
So
like I
just
want to be
tell
like,
them, say, I need
let
to
me just
sleep
see
on
how
it.
that feels
Yeah.
for me for a little
Yeah.
while. And then I'll get
See, so
back to you.
you already sense that in your body. Like
I
that's like,
totally sense
because
that, but now,
you're very tuned in. So it
yeah,
should be like
but now
most of
I
these.
can say to him,
Yes.
let me just think about that for a little while and see how it feels. And when I get a good feeling reading, I'll let you know. Like he's very woo woo and like out there in
Yeah,
that
so
space. And
he'll
like, I
get
get
that
it.
and
Yeah, he'll
understand.
get it.
Yes.
He'll
And
get
so
it,
like
respect
the
it.
open route too is like, so then you're feeling pressure, which then kind of makes that worse. So it's sort of like this, it's
Totally.
all of it working together, and they're not
Yeah.
connected to each other. So you're going
Yeah.
to feel that as like pressure. And it's like, so my husband's a reflector, which is the rarest type. So now
Okay.
I know why he takes forever to make a decision, like forever, like not little things, but like anything, like a big decision. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like he wants to buy like an expensive like something, like it'll take him forever, and I'm like, just buy it. Like, what? I don't, who cares? But he's a 28-day, like he's literally like a lunar being, so he, for big decisions, literally needs 28 days or somewhere
Wow.
thereabouts to like experience all the energy.
But,
So if
but
you
at
think,
least you don't get frustrated, right? Like if you know
no,
that you're not
yeah.
getting frustrated.
Well,
Yeah.
especially now that I know, it really makes sense to me. But I was like, now I know why it takes you so long to buy a damn pair of shoes.
Oh my God, just buy the shoes. My
Buy the
dog has
fucking
like
shoes.
found a box that he can tear
Oh.
apart. Oh my God.
Well, thank you for letting me do this for you, because it's
Such
good
a dog.
it's, let me see. Can he come up? Is your
Oh my
dog
God,
big?
look what he's done. I was like, what has he got? I thought he had his bone.
Oh, he
No.
found it. Oh, they love the boxes. My dog would do the same thing. Especially if she smells something in it that's like appealing, then that's it.
Oh, telling you,
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
ready for puppy stage to be
I
over.
know. It's
Jeez.
hard when our neighbors just got a golden puppy. My dog's like 6 now, so we're past that. But yeah, and I'm like, she's so cute, but I don't miss like having that in my house.
It's like having a toddler again.
Yeah.
Just stop. No, that was incredible. So send me the thing. I'll
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
put it
send you
up.
everything. And then if you like, seriously though, if you dig
Okay.
into any of the notes and you have questions, like you want, where you're like, I want
I'll
more
totally
on
message you
this.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'll send
But
you whatever
man,
you want.
I know that there is space on YouTube for somebody who wants to show up to specifically speak about human design
Okay.
in
I'm
the way
in.
that you talk about it. Because here's the other thing is that a lot of the human design people are like, they've got like sparkly claws in the
Yeah.
background and they've got like a candle burning and they're like, we're going to
Yes.
talk human design. And I feel like that's not, I mean, that's great for those humans,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not, I
Well,
like
I
how
want
you,
everybody to access it. Like you don't have to be woo woo even to access it. Like that's what I think so cool about it. It's like it could be like, and this is why I love Emma, because she makes it practical. Like people in business should be using this. Schools should be
yeah,
using this. Like
yeah.
our kids, the way our kids learn should be like, I treat my child entirely differently now that I know what his human design
Yeah.
is and I understand it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is you do it with this place of like authority where it's like, it's less, you know, spiritual and more like, here's your prescription.
Yeah. And it's your permission really to be
Yeah.
you. Like that's what it is. And it's like, if things don't resonate, then those parts might not be for you, because people could live out these energies. Like they could have the same chart as you and express it totally differently. And so that's why it's kind of always like there could be multiple energies within certain things, but it's just figuring out which one resonates. Do you like audio contemplations? Like, do you like to
Like
listen,
listening to
like
things?
listening to stuff?
No.
No, I was going to say, because if you do, Richard Rudd, the Gene Keys guy, he does these
Oh,
like 20-minute audio contemplations. So like if there's any of
no.
these ones like in the like the culture or your brand that you're interested in, I could send them to you and you can listen to them.
No, I'd have to
Okay.
read it.
You
Is
like to
that
read.
weird? I
You
have to
should
read,
know,
yeah.
like get the Gene Keys book too. Cause I think like if you read, like you could take basically any of these ones, like the numbers are all in there for you in my notes. Like you could read them and you might be like, oh shit, like this jumps out at me. Cause like even when I read my own, every time I read it, something new like presents itself to me. It's kind of
So
almost
what
like
you do is you look up the number?
yeah, so like it's all these numbers here in your chart, and like they all kind of mean something different. So
Oh,
they're the same as these, right? So they're in your centers, but like these are the most like where they were, like where the planets or the sun and the moon were when you were born. So this is 88 days before. This is like the day of your birth. And so this is this is again like kind of like astrology. Like this is your sun. So this is this timing, like this, not being too rigid, but also being like finding that balance between structure and flexibility. So that's like really big for you. And then it moves down, like your earth can be like, this is the one, like don't be like too hungry for new experience, where they don't have purpose, like don't fill time for time's sake. So that could be like your challenge or your evolution, because it's in your earth. And then like you move over here and it's like this is your confusion and doubt. So like you want to make sure, I always forget which one's confusion and which one's doubt. But like this one would be like your radiance. So if you allow too much doubt or confusion to come into your life, probably I think that's the confusion, you can actually like it can affect your health. So it's like really important for you to mitigate that. And then like this is your purpose. So the other one is like escaping the doubt and the confusion is like how you actually like, and bringing clarity is how you sort of like bring your best self to the world. So it's kind of like looking at all these things and where they are, and that kind of tells you like the different, it's like these are from the Chinese I Ching, so they each have like different energies. So like your purpose, that was your purpose, but then like down here, like this is your vocation, like the one we were talking about, the preservation, like how it stays and what goes, like the SEO, like that's literally in what you're here to teach other people, and like letting go of the fear and like all of those things. And then what other one do we look at? This was your people was the 56. And so that was what's the 56? Oh, that's like the enrichment, like how you find these people that are living in alignment that you get to work with, and that enriches your own life. So it's like all these, like they all kind of mean something different. So like if you were to listen to the audio contemplation, you could be like, well, I want to know more about confusion and doubt. Like I could give you the context, and then you would listen to his little 20-minute like he's this like wonderful British voice. Like I just like take walks and listen to Richard Rudd because like I love him so much. But he like then there's like a contemplation on it. But the book is also great because if you get the big Gene Keys book, like you could just flip open to that one, and it's like they're like 4 or 5 pages. They're kind of like small type, but you just would read through it and it's like things will kind of resonate. Like I feel like it's less about your mind and it's more about as you read it, like what do I feel in my body as I read this stuff. Oh, you're muted again.
because my dog was being dumb.
Oh, anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, like there's so much. I mean, you could dig into this for years. Like I've been looking at my own chart for 2 years and there's still like so much I haven't touched.
Wow, amazing.
But I
Okay,
appreciate you saying that, like that it makes sense to you and you feel like the information was like
yeah,
valuable. Cause I just,
no, really good.
if I'm going to charge people for this, like I want to know I'm giving them something that they can take away and
Totally.
action on.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And I'll give you like a testimonial too to put under
Oh,
it.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
whatever else I can do for you, my friend,
No.
I'm at your service.
Yeah. I guess I'll know when it pops up.
Yeah. That's fine. I'll always be here. No, I do, Liz. I love working with you so much. So never feel stressed about me. That's one thing I'll tell you. Like, don't ever feel stressed or
Oh,
pressure.
thanks. I mean, the only thing is I think whenever you girls are ready or whoever's ready or whoever wants to do what, like, man, there is space to do that human design YouTube channel.
Yeah. I mean, do you think I could add it to my PR or like revamp my PR
I would
channel a
just
little bit?
leave your PR videos and I would just start doing
And
human
start
design.
doing so, because I feel like they do kind of go together, because the way I'm doing it is like if
Yeah,
someone came to me and
yeah,
said,
totally,
I'm not going to give you a relationship reading because that's not my expertise, or like I'm not going to life coach
totally.
you, right? So what I'm going to
Right.
do is I can tell you about yourself and what's going on in your chart, and then I can tell you how that
It's more like a
translates.
market from a
Exactly.
marketing
Like, how do you
perspective.
market yourself based
Yeah.
on this? So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
like I call it like literally like claiming the messaging that is in your DNA. Like, it's like we're
Yeah.
pulling that shit out. But that's kind of where I'm going with my content. It's a lot about like the human design, but with that lens. And so maybe I'll just maybe start thinking about like some other ones I can make. And then like literally, like
Mhm.
I'm in no rush. Whenever you have time, then we can just, you can just do them and bill me for them or tell me what you think or
Well,
whatever.
in February, like let's just make a mental note to regroup like at the end of February, which is
Okay.
beautiful. I love that idea.
All right.
And then um from there we can look and see like up from there I'll do the research to be like what would pop off like because I mean the thing is like if people are so interested in it now, it's such like a baby movement, the getting the content up on YouTube. Like YouTube really, really pays, I mean, so to speak, right? For considering it's your marketing. But so my life coach client, she's making $300 a
Yeah,
month
you
now.
were telling me that, which is awesome because then it like pays for like a video a month for you to edit
She
or
pays,
whatever.
yeah, it pays for me. Like I
Yeah.
SEO all of her videos and I do all of her strategy and all like I do everything. I don't do her editing. Um, but what was I gonna say? But so it's like paid for in her
Yeah.
AdSense revenue, and that's also where she gets all of her clients.
Yeah,
So it's
that's what I
so
would love
easy.
to do that. So I again, like things are starting to kind of, and again, it's for me, like you, it's a lot about like waiting and being patient.
Oh,
But the more
totally,
patient I
totally.
am, like the more it's starting to become clear to me. And like all these pieces have
Yeah,
started like slotting into place.
yeah,
So it's not like I'm
yeah.
not doing PR, but it's more PR in the sense that it's like how we present
Well,
ourselves to the world, right? It's less
yeah,
about like getting on.
I think that's the thing is that it's less almost like so like if you get away from the terminology of PR of like okay public relations and PR is like getting people into magazines and blogs and
Right.
stuff like that. But what if it's what it actually means is like you know what, let me think about this for a little bit longer. Let me sit with this whole idea because it's almost like and it's not even marketing. It's almost you're like what would
This
PR
visibility, it keeps being like visibility to me, keeps coming like to mind. Like it's like, how do you be more visible in a way that's truly yourself?
because
I
when we
got,
think of see, this is where these outdated terms don't really work anymore because nobody
yep.
really needs PR. Like I get it, but nobody really needs it. So what people do need is visibility. So visibility for a purpose, like a visibility to achieve a purpose. And so it's almost like I don't know. I don't
It's
know. It's
funny,
really
the PR woman that I'm like partnering with, she runs a program called Visibility on Purpose, which is actually pretty smart. It's a good term.
yeah. There's something though with PR. Like PR is almost how you script yourself to
Mhm.
get people interested in your
Yeah, that's
message.
what it is. It's not just about me. It's like I even started like pulling some of that off of my website because it's not necessarily as much about getting on
So it's
podcasts
almost
or
like
in
using
magazines.
techniques. That's what you do is you use techniques that you've honed from years and years and years and years and years and years and years of PR to create visibility for a brand.
Hmm.
That's what you do.
But it's really not even
Right.
about, it's less even about what I did in my former life. I mean, I understand
Totally.
that, but
Sure.
it's that's why like to me too, like even the sort of the intuitive PR, because it's what's already inside of us that we know. And what I feel like
Yeah.
I'm doing is giving people permission to use what's already, like, again, what's already theirs, like what
Yeah.
they own. Like you have all of this messaging locked inside of you. And it's like, how do we bring this out? Because
Totally.
that's what makes people hear you, because you're actually speaking like what they need, what you're
Well, and that's
supposed
what
to speak.
PR kind of is, right? It's
Yeah.
like, how do we package the story that's going to get your brand visibility, right? Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, people want PR, like people want public, whatever, like a
Oh,
story
right.
in the
It's the
newspaper or
story
whatever.
that people care about. Right.
But they want the story because they want people to hear their brand, right? Like we want Ringette on news
Yeah.
so that people are hearing Ringette.
Yep.
right? So it's not about the story. It's not about getting the story on the news. It's about getting impressions.
Right. Right.
Right. So it's increasing your impressions. So I mean, that's really kind of like the thing, is that you're getting, you're tapping into their, I don't really know what it is. That's kind of all mixed up in my
Well,
brain.
it's
I'll get
kind
it.
of like, I know. Well, that's why you just let it process. But like, it's to me, it's also like when I look at the places in my chart, one of the biggest energies is magnetism. And so what I feel like I'm actually doing is creating magnetism for people by using their natural, like communicating according to their natural energy. And I know like that sounds kind of woo woo, but really it's like when you're being your true self, like more people are going to hear what you have to say. And there's probably a much better way to say that I haven't articulated yet, but that's really what I believe is the truth. It's the frequency that we communicate with is what people actually, it's like you said, like you don't even hear maybe all the words I'm saying, but it's landing on you
Yeah, because the
because
biggest thing that you said was the role model piece. And I'm like, I mean, I just had a girl that I had ran into at the grocery store. I probably haven't seen her since last year. And then she texted me the next day and she's like, oh my God, I don't know what you're doing. You look so great.
that's
Like,
it.
what are your secrets? Like, what's happening? Like, what have you changed in your life? And I was like, oh
But
my
see,
God,
she sees that. Like she saw, and
that's
again,
it.
it's less conscious. Like you're not going to see that in yourself, but other people will
Yeah.
see it in you much, much more.
But then that gave me the permission that I needed to, build my website, build my Instagram, blah, 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 and just be okay being the role model.
Yeah.
Like be okay embracing my journey and embracing my story and being the
Yes.
role model. And doing that from a place of like, it's okay for me to show up because other people need my
They
story
need
to
you to
be the
show up.
role model.
And with that four, so like
Yeah.
not just the six, Liz, like you have that four where you're influential within your communities too. So like
Yeah.
the network that you operate within is really, really important. And it's important for you, but you're important for them too. So it's like this sort of ecosystem that swirls around you that you influence.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I got a ton from it to be like, I feel like I can market myself, but market myself in my authentic
But don't
voice.
you feel like more permit? Like that's what and I'm not
A
telling
ton
you
of
what to
more
think about my
permission.
reading, but meaning like that's kind of the whole point. It's like I told you that. Like I have no way of knowing that. And it's not because I'm clairvoyant. I'm literally reading it in your chart, right? So you're
Yeah.
like, well, it's gotta be like I'm always like, it's gotta be true because it feels true, even if I feel weird
Yeah.
saying it or
And that's why I wanted to do it now. And like having taken this time, because I very intentionally have been like, you know what, the universe is going to give me the next right step.
yeah.
And I really feel like this is just, and that's what I wanted, right? I was like, I'm going to do my website. I'm going to get my pictures, but I want to talk to you first.
Yeah.
And now it's giving me that place of like, I can actually just do what I want. Like I
Yep.
can actually just do intuitively what I think, and what I think I want it to be is going to be the right thing.
Well, you know what, and what that is that means you're not deciding it up here. You're deciding it like from what you
Yeah.
already felt, right? So like that's the thing. It's always like we sort of know, like you knew clearly what you felt was the right thing, but your mind
Yeah.
kept probably telling you, well, no, but I should do this, or this is
To
how I
do this.
should. So then it's like that's our cognitive dissonance. And the whole point of human design is to be the person that we truly are and not the person that we think we should be or that other people expect us to show up as. So that's the best advice is just be who you like, do what you naturally feel was right. And I feel like you were
Yeah.
already there.
Yeah, no, I'm here for it.
It's so
Okay,
cool.
amazing. So send me those notes and
I
I'll put it
will.
all together.
Yeah.
We'll
And
do
no,
something.
like no rush, like do what you have to do. Like I'm in no
Yeah,
hurry for anything.
I think, man, the biggest project that was like killing my brain is done. So thank God for that. And then so now I feel like I'm coming out on the other side, which is amazing. It's
Yeah.
been,
Well,
yeah, and
the real new year is coming on I think Monday. So like we can all kind of actually launch because it's like what is
oh,
it, the lunar new year
yeah.
and
Well, then I don't really need to launch. Like I very much do still feel like this energy of like you're really good here for the next year.
yeah,
Like I'm
that's good.
really, really good here for the next year. Like whatever I'm supposed to learn now is really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's good.
that's
Well, that's the other thing with those ones in your chart too. Like, don't ever be afraid that you don't have enough knowledge. Like, you'll love to gather all that knowledge,
yeah.
but don't let the fear of not knowing enough or having enough, like whatever, hold you back from actually just go. Like I think you
Well,
said
and
this
maybe
is like
it's
building the
because
plane as you fly it. Like, you can do that.
yeah. And I think it's also like, man, my job like 2 years ago didn't exist. 1 year ago, I was like, do I have a real job? Now I'm like, oh my God, I'm a unicorn.
Yeah.
And I think I think next year it's going to be like everybody and their dog is going to be like, you need to hire one of these people.
That's what I was just going to say. Like, you're going to have to start building staff out, and you've done that before, so you know how to do that.
Yeah, yeah. But I just think that's the thing. Like, I think society is going to catch up to, this whole weird little thing, this like digital marketing world. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's
Which
fun
is
to
different than you, right? Because you guys do the marketing, like you guys do it from, because I think mine's very tactical. Like I'm very tactical and like
yeah, well, because you're
physical.
looking at like the data and like
Yeah,
the
and it's
PR
really
stuff
like
is
a
a little more
product.
fluid. So like I'm like trying to
Totally.
keep in track. Like I actually today, you actually I think would be proud of this one. This whole new TikTok trend on lucky girl syndrome. Have you seen this one?
I've seen it, yeah.
I haven't got any responses yet. Although I did get one, and she was like, I just wrote an article this morning on lucky girl syndrome. She's like, but I loved this idea. I was like, damn it, I was a day too late. But what I did was I said you could be a lucky girl every day if you like, and I didn't use the term human design, but I basically pitched Emma, like expert can tell you how to catch lucky girl syndrome like for real. And so it's using your
Right.
strategy and authority in human design. So like if you actually know that you have a hidden strategy and authority within you and you follow it, like how, you take information in and how you make decisions, that then you manifest in your lucky girl every single day.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
that's what I've been trying to do is like find like the angles and then make it less woo. So it's like not even really I really don't even say human design until like I get to like introduce Emma, but it's like because it's like like the 369 manifestation method or whatever. It's just I kind of like made it into one of those.
Yeah. I love that lucky girl syndrome thing.
I
That's so
know.
great.
So anyway, so
that
like but
thing.
that's kind of like it's very fluid. So like every day I have to just pay attention to what's going on out there and be like, all right, like what am I gonna pitch? How am I gonna pitch her today? But she's
Oh
had
my God.
Gabby Bernstein's coming on Tuesday or one day next week. I forget which day.
Oh
So
my God,
once
that's
like
so exciting.
I feel like once that episode goes out, like it opens
Oh,
up the floodgates for me to like get
the
her tons of awesome guests.
floodgates.
Yeah, and like getting her on stuff. So
Floodgates.
that's like a big that's a big turning point. So
That's why we won't be able to do anything until the end of February.
yeah,
Because you're so slammed.
it's going to be and it's cool
Crazy.
because I'm even starting to see like the inbound with her too. Like we're getting like requests now are coming in like instead of me just
Good.
pushing it out. So yeah, so it's good.
Oh man, so good. So
Oh,
good.
good.
Okay, well, I'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your weekend
You too,
down there.
friend. All
Okay,
right.
man, and I'll talk to you in a few weeks.
All right, Liz. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.